Hey everybody, welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Jim. I just watched Baghead on Shudder. This is a 2023/2024 film. It's one of those deals. That's the first part of the year here. We're getting everything with a 2023 designation, but it's also 2024. IMDb lists the release date as April 5th, 2024. So that's what I'm going with. This movie is following the death of her estranged father, played by Peter Mullen. Iris, played by Freya Allan, learns she has inherited a rundown, centuries-old pub. She travels to Berlin to identify her father's body and meet with the solicitor to discuss the estate. Little does she know, when the deed is signed, she will become inextricably tied to an unspeakable entity that resides in the pub's basement, Baghead, a shape-shifting creature that can transform into the dead. 2,000 in cash for 2 minutes with the creature is all it takes for desperate loved ones to ease their grief. Neil, played by Jeremy Irvin, who has lost his wife, is Iris's first customer. Like her father, Iris is tempted to exploit the creature's power and help desperate people for a price. But she soon discovers breaking the 2-minute rule can have terrifying consequences. Together with her best friend, Katie, played by Ruby Barker, Iris must battle to keep control of Baghead and figure out how to destroy her before she destroys them. That is the very cool synopsis provided by Studio Canal on IMDb. And this movie was good. It was very fun. I loved the setting. I loved the old pub style. It was in like kind of a warehousey district, and it was huge. Actually, it was really huge. But I love old sets, old pictures, and things like that. And this uh, movie had a lot of that. So, like, yeah. So she finds out of Iris finds out her father died. She gets a phone call. She makes the trip out, just like the synopsis says, and she kind of impulsively, just kind of dives into owning the pub. She was recently evicted from her apartment. She doesn't have a whole lot of stuff going on, so she's kind of looking at this as basically a place to stay above all else. And um, when she meets with the solicitor gives her a VHS tape that has the word instructions written on it. And the instructions are about the Baghead lady in the basement. And Iris, of course, doesn't look at that tape right away. So when Neil shows up unannounced and in the middle of the night on Iris's first night at the pub, there's some living quarters on the upstairs level. Um, she kind of reluctantly takes his money and tells him to come back the next day, which is when Katie was also arriving, and bring 2,000 more. So Neil comes back, has an item that belonged to his wife to give to the bag lady. So the Baghead, I guess I'm probably going to inadvertently call it bag lady. Um, so the bag lady needs like an item owned by the person that you're trying to communicate with. And of course, none of the rules are followed that get established, so things go sideways. Neil doesn't get to make contact with the person that he wanted to, and a different person comes through. And so, yeah, things go a little crazy. Iris then does watch the tape, and now she feels like she's got the knowledge she needs to properly use Bag Lady for her benefit. And I think a little part of her did think that it would help other people. Of course, she doesn't follow any of the instructions that her father left. It didn't. I didn't get the impression that the dad knew that Iris was going to end up becoming the owner of the pub. I think that's a little story gaff so to speak, because he would have obviously known that he would, if he was not successful in trying to take care of the bag lady, which is established in the very opening sequence, is what he was trying to do. If he was not successful, and if he died, it was going to go to his daughter, and she would become the new owner of the pub by default. And despite the solicitor being very suspicious to begin with, and offering to, you know, work out a way for her to get rid of the pub so that she wasn't going to have to be responsible for it, he wasn't very forthcoming with all of the Baghead information. So I don't know, but the story still works. Katie gets there. She's, like, uber controlling, kind of annoying a little bit, but really is the level head of all of the characters in the movie. Um, Katie is the one that's probably the most real world. She's not dealing with grief like Neil or Iris. She's not dealing with the temptation like the others are. So, um, you know, because of the story, we have to get rid of Katie, obviously. So Katie um, may or may not make it to the end of the movie. I'll leave it at that. Um, but I think overall the Baghead look was kind of cool. Again, I like all like the old feel of the building, the centuries old pub. Definitely had a very cool ambiance to it. The lighting was cool. The unkept nature of it creates a very creepy vibe. And the story itself was pretty decent. And I liked the interactions with the transformations into the people. We do get kind of like a little bit of a lull in the story, but it's only a lull because it's like needed, necessary, kind of like backstory stuff. So, partway through the movie, we have Iris dealing with the Baghead lore through communication that she shouldn't have been doing with her father and getting that kind of stuff. And then you can tell, how the bag lady manipulates thoughts and creates like this obsession kind of feeling. Like you get obsessed with communicating through her. And, that's very predominant with Neil. Neil is very, very um, aggressive with continuing the communications with his wife, his deceased wife. But Neil is very sus as well. Nobody is who they appear to be. So when we get like that backstory ish kind of stuff with um, Iris and her dad, and then we kind of also transition to Katie before she or may not have perished. She also has an encounter with the bag lady, and we get a great explanation to the lore of the bag lady, the 400-year-old history, and the group that first found her, and her abilities to communicate with the dead. And I thought that was good. I liked having that knowledge of kind of where the Baghead came from. I didn't care so much about the back history between the father and Iris, because I think a lot of that was unnecessary information because it doesn't play into the ending of the movie at all. But it didn't build on the stressed relationship because it was already briefly explained in his videotape instructions to whoever was going to take over. So um, after those little backstory thread of the movie, then things kind of escalate a little bit more. And I thought it was a very clever ending. I don't want to give it away, obviously, but we have Neil and Iris kind of doing um, some things with the bag lady, and it really worked for me. I really enjoyed the ending. It was not what I was expecting. I liked the direction that they took it. Um, it's one of these movies that I hope is just a one and done because I think it could change the ending of the story, even though it's left a little bit open. I don't think it's necessary to take this kind of a movie and go further with it, but I do like what they did with it, and they worked um, a common uh, threat plot device into the ending, like something that takes place at the beginning becomes an integral part of the story, unbeknownst to us until the very end. And I liked that. I thought that was very clever. So this is on Shudder. If I failed to mention that, Baghead, Shudder original. So check it out. Let me know in the comments down below. Try to keep it a little spoiler free. This is still relatively new to Shudder, so people may still be just finding this and checking it out. But I was really glad that I watched this. I wasn't sure that I was going to, and I'm glad I did. Thanks for tuning into the channel, and keep checking back for more great stuff.
Row 18, plot 20.